There's a moment that happens in almost every home with a cat in it, and most people don't even notice it while it's unfolding. You're at the kitchen counter, maybe pouring the last of the morning coffee, and you feel it before you see it. That soft pressure of eyes. You turn, and your cat is sitting 3 feet away, perfectly still, tail wrapped around their paws, watching you with an expression that isn't quite hunger and isn't quite affection. It's something older than both. And you smile, you say their name, you go back to whatever you were doing. But the stare doesn't stop. It follows you through the hallway, into the living room, up onto the couch, and somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet question forms. What do they want from me? That question is the reason I made this video, because in over 2 decades of practice, I've come to believe that the stare, that long, unblinking, deeply patient stare, is the single most misunderstood signal in the entire feline vocabulary. Owners come into my clinic every week describing it. Some think it's love, some think it's judgment, some think it's a demand for food. And the honest answer is that it can be any of those things, but it's almost never just one of them. Your cat is asking for something specific. And the tragedy is that most of us are answering the wrong question. Hi, I'm Dr. Andrew Collins, and I've spent the better part of 23 years working with cats in general practice and behavioral consultation. And today, I want to walk you through a roadmap, not a checklist of tricks, not a viral list of hacks, a genuine stage-by-stage understanding of what your cat is really begging for when they lock eyes with you across a room. Because here's the thing that most owners never realize. The meaning of that stare changes as your cat ages. What a 2-year-old is asking for is not what a 9-year-old is asking for. And what a 14-year-old is asking for is something you cannot afford to miss. A landmark study out of the University of Sussex, led by researchers examining feline-human communication signals, found that cats deliberately modulate the length and intensity of their gaze based on the response they've learned to expect from their specific human. In other words, your cat isn't staring randomly. They're staring at you, personally, in a way they've refined over months and years of learning what works. That's not instinct. That's a relationship. And the choices you make in response to that stare this year will shape how the next decade of your cat's life feels, for both of you. So grab something warm to drink, settle in, and let's walk this roadmap together. I'll be honest with you throughout, and I'll flag the moments that matter most. There's one stage in particular, near the end, that I want you to pay very close attention to, because it's the stage most owners underestimate, and it's the one where the stare stops being a request and starts being a warning. Let's begin where every cat begins, the kitten window. This is roughly the first year of life, and specifically the period between 8 weeks and about 10 months, when your cat's entire model of what humans mean is being written into their nervous system. In this stage, the stare is almost always exploratory. Your kitten is watching you the same way a child watches a stranger at a family gathering, cataloging your movements, your voice tone, the rhythm of your day. They're building a mental map of your predictability. What's happening inside them, biologically, is fascinating. The feline brain, during the socialization window, is producing new neural connections at a rate it will never reach again. A researcher at the Cornell Feline Health Center once described this period to me as the cement stage. The mixture is wet, the shape is forming, and every interaction leaves a mark. When your kitten stares at you from across the room, they are not asking for food. They are asking a single question. Are you safe? The one thing that matters most in this stage, and if you take nothing else from this section, take this, is calm, low-pressure presence. Sit near your kitten without demanding anything. Read a book, fold laundry. Let them watch you be boring. In my experience, the cats who grow into the most confident, affectionate adults are the ones whose owners resisted the urge to constantly grab, cuddle, and stimulate them during those early months. Their humans gave them the greatest gift a young cat can receive, which is the freedom to observe safety without having to earn it. Here's what happens if you skip this stage. Years later, you'll notice something strange. Your cat will stare at you from doorways instead of from beside you. They'll flinch at hands that reach too fast. They'll bond, yes, but with a thin, cautious edge underneath the bond. And you'll wonder why, and no one will tell you it started in month 3 of their life, when everything moved too quickly. And then, somewhere around the first birthday, everything shifts. The kitten body settles into the adult frame, and a new stage begins. I call the next window the young adult stage, roughly ages 1 through 6. This is the stage that most owners think of as the default cat. Playful, opinionated, healthy, energetic. And this is where the stare takes on a new character entirely. It becomes conversational. Your young adult cat is no longer asking whether you're safe. They already know. What they're asking now is whether you're paying attention. Think about the last time your cat sat in front of a closed door and stared at you without making a sound. Or the way they station themselves near an empty water bowl and simply look. Or the ritual of sitting beside their food dish 20 minutes before dinner time, giving you that slow, patient gaze. Those aren't demands. They're invitations. Your cat has learned that eye contact, held long enough, produces a response from you. And that discovery, the discovery that they can shape your behavior with nothing but their eyes, is one of the most profound cognitive leaps in the feline mind. Researchers at the University of Lincoln in the UK have done extensive work on what's called cat-human referential communication. Their findings suggest that adult cats use directed gaze not just to request resources, but to check in, to confirm that the human is aware of their needs and responsive to them. It's the feline equivalent of a check-in text. Are you there? Are we still connected? The one thing that matters most in this stage is the response loop. When your young adult cat stares at you and you consistently acknowledge them, even just with a soft, "I see you," and a slow blink, you're teaching them that communication with you is worth the effort, and that lesson pays compounding interest for the rest of their life. In contrast, when owners ignore these stares for months at a time, something quiet and sad happens. The cat stops trying. They still love you. They still live with you. But the little conversations dwindle, and by the time they're 7 or 8, you'll say something like, "She used to talk to me more when she was young." And you'll be right. She stopped because you stopped listening. Now, here's a practical piece I want to hand you. When your young adult cat locks eyes with you across a room, try this. Slow your blink to about half speed. Close your eyes for a beat longer than natural. Open them softly. Watch what happens. In most cases, over the next few seconds, your cat will do one of 3 things: return the slow blink, walk toward you, or shift their body into a more relaxed posture. That exchange, quiet as it is one of the most well-documented affiliative signals in the entire feline behavioral literature, studied in depth by researchers at the University of Portsmouth. Which brings us to a stage I want you to pause on for a moment, because the transition into what I call the mature adult window, roughly ages 7 through 10, is the single most underestimated stage in your cat's life, and I'm going to come back to it later in this video with a specific intervention I want you to remember. But first, let's set the scene. Somewhere around year 7, without any dramatic announcement, your cat's internal biology begins a slow pivot. Their metabolism starts to slide. Their joints, which have carried them silently through thousands of jumps, begin the earliest whispers of wear. Their kidneys, which are the organ I worry about most in cats over 7, begin the earliest measurable changes on blood work, often years before any outward symptom appears. And their stare, this is what I want you to notice, begins to change too. The mature adult stare is longer than the young adult stare. It's more still. There's less flicker in it. And here's what I want you to understand, because it took me years of practice to see it clearly. A mature cat who begins staring at you for prolonged periods without an obvious cause, no food request, no door to open, no toy nearby, is often communicating a subtle internal discomfort they don't yet have a way to express. They're not in pain necessarily, but something inside them has shifted, and their attention is drawn to it, and by extension, to you. If you're still with me at this point in the video, I'd love for you to do something. Pause for just a second and comment on your cat's age below, just the number. I read them, and I'll tell you exactly which stage they're standing at the edge of right now, and what I'd want you to be watching for over the next 6 to 12 months. It genuinely helps me understand who's on the other side of the screen, and it helps other owners find this video too. All right, let's keep going because there's a lot to cover in the mature stage, and I don't want to shortchange it. The one thing that matters most for the mature adult cat is what I've come to call the baseline blood panel ritual. Once a year, without fail, between the ages of 7 and 10, I want you to have your veterinarian run a full senior wellness panel, even if your cat looks perfectly healthy. Especially if your cat looks perfectly healthy. Because the whole point of this stage is that the changes are invisible from the outside. Kidney values will shift long before you see increased water intake. Thyroid values will drift long before you see weight loss. And the difference between catching those changes at year 8 versus year 11 is, in my experience, the difference between a cat who thrives into their late teens and a cat who declines quietly through their early teens. I remember a mature tabby who came into my clinic a couple of springs ago. I'll call him a generic name, just a middle-aged brown tabby, brought in for what his owner described as, "He just stares at me more than he used to." That was it. No vomiting, no weight loss, no visible symptoms. But something in the way she described the stare made me want to run the full panel. And what we found was very early kidney change, stage 1. Barely detectable, the kind of finding that gives you years to intervene rather than months to react. 2 years later, that cat is still doing beautifully, on a modified diet and with regular monitoring. If she'd waited until he stopped eating, we would have been having a very different conversation. That is why I'm asking you not to skip the mature stage. Please talk with your own veterinarian about the right timing and frequency for wellness blood work. Every cat is different, and your vet knows yours. Here's what happens if you skip this stage. You'll cross into year 11 or 12, and one morning your cat will refuse breakfast. Or you'll notice they're drinking more water than usual, or they'll feel lighter when you pick them up. And by the time those outward signs appear, the underlying process has often been running for 2 or 3 years already. The mature stage is your window to be early. Please use it. And then, somewhere around year 11, everything shifts again. Let's talk about the senior stage, roughly ages 11 through 14. This is the stage where the stare takes on a quality I can only describe as searching. Owners describe it to me constantly in almost identical words. She sits and looks at me for a long time, longer than she used to, like she's trying to tell me something. And I want you to know right now that if you've noticed that in your own cat, you are not imagining it. Your senior cat is telling you something. And something is usually one of 3 things. I'm a little sore, I'm a little confused, or I'm a little hungrier or thirstier than I used to be, and I'm not sure why. What's happening inside a senior cat is a gentle acceleration of everything that started in the mature stage. Joints that whispered now speak a little louder. Cognitive changes. Yes, cats experience their own version of age-related cognitive shifts, similar to what researchers have documented in dogs and humans. Begin to appear as small hesitations, longer pauses in doorways, occasional confusion about the location of the litter box. Sensory changes creep in too. Hearing softens. Vision softens. And the stare, which used to be a conversation, becomes an anchor. Your cat is looking at you not to ask a specific question, but to steady themselves in a world that's growing quieter around them. The one thing that matters most in the senior stage is what I call environmental gentling. And I want to be specific about this because it's the intervention I care about most in cats over 11. Lower the jumps. If your cat used to leap onto the bed and now hesitates before doing it, place a soft step or low ottoman there. If their food and water are on opposite ends of the house, move them closer together, but keep them in separate rooms. Cats still prefer to drink away from where they eat. Warm their sleeping spots. A soft bed near a sunny window or over a warm surface no hotter than about 90 degrees Fahrenheit can ease early joint discomfort in ways that are honestly remarkable to watch. And most importantly, keep their routine steady. A senior cat who knows breakfast is at 7 and dinner is at 6 will hold onto that structure the way a person holds a handrail on a staircase. Here's what happens if you skip this stage. Your cat will still love you. They'll still purr, still greet you, still find their way to your lap. But quietly, subtly, they'll start to withdraw from the parts of the home that have become physically harder. The high shelf they used to sleep on, the top of the wardrobe, the bookshelf by the window, and you'll say, she just doesn't jump anymore. She must be getting old. And that will be partially true. But some of that withdrawal is preventable, and the intervention window is right now, while they're still in their early senior years. And then, in most cats, somewhere around the 15th year, the roadmap opens into its final chapter. The geriatric stage, roughly 15 and beyond, is a stage I hold with enormous tenderness. And here, I want to be careful, because this section matters as much as any I've said so far. In the geriatric cat, the stare becomes something different again. It becomes a presence. Your very old cat will find you across the room and simply be with you, eyes half-lidded, breath slow, body still. They're not asking for anything specific. They are choosing to be near you, and they are using their gaze to close the distance their body can no longer close on its own. What's happening inside a geriatric cat is that every system is doing more work to accomplish the same tasks. The kidneys, if they've held up, are working harder. The heart, if it's still steady, is working harder. Muscle mass is harder to hold on to. This is called sarcopenia in the clinical literature, and it's an age-related loss of muscle that affects cats much the way it affects older humans. Protein needs in geriatric cats are, in my experience, and in the guidance from most modern feline nutrition specialists, actually higher than in mature cats, not lower. That's a shift from what we used to teach 20 years ago, and it's one of the most important updates in feline geriatric care from the past decade. The one thing that matters most in the geriatric stage is comfort-forward veterinary care. That means more frequent, gentler check-ins, often every 6 months instead of yearly. It means being willing to say to your vet, I'm not looking to add years, I'm looking to protect the quality of these ones. It means learning to read your cat's stare as a barometer. A geriatric cat, whose gaze becomes vacant, unfocused, or fixed on middle distance for long stretches, may be experiencing discomfort or cognitive change that can often be softened with the right adjustments to environment, nutrition, or medication under a veterinarian's guidance. Please, always, work with your own vet on these decisions. Nothing in this video replaces the person who knows your cat by name. Here's what happens if you skip this stage, or rush through it. You'll miss the last, quiet privilege of your cat's life, the chance to be present for them the way they've been present for you. Geriatric cats have taught me more about what love looks like than any textbook ever did. And the owners who slow down in this stage, who sit on the floor beside their cat's bed, who read out loud sometimes just to fill the room with the sound of their voice, are the owners who will remember the last chapter of their cat's life as a good one, not a rushed one. Now, I want to circle back to something I promised you earlier, because I don't want to leave without giving it to you properly. Remember the mature adult stage? That 7 to 10 window I flagged as the most underestimated? I want to give you the specific intervention that changes the trajectory for most cats in that stage, because it's the one intervention I wish every owner in my clinic knew about 10 years earlier than they usually do. It's not a supplement. It's not a diet change. It's this. Once a year, starting at age 7, sit down with your cat's baseline blood work and ask your veterinarian a single question. Compared to last year, what's moving? Not what's abnormal, not what's out of range, what's moving. Because in cats, the direction of change matters more than the absolute value. A kidney value that's still technically normal but has drifted upward 2 years in a row is telling you something a single snapshot never could. That question, what's moving, is the intervention. It costs nothing extra. It doesn't require a new test. It requires only that you keep the records and that you ask the question every single year. If I could hand every cat owner in the world one habit, it would be that one. Because the difference between reactive care and proactive care in a cat's mature years is measured in good years on the back end of their life. Not weeks, not months, years. And now let me bring this all the way back to where we started. The stare. That long, patient gaze from across the room. What is your cat begging for? They're begging for you to see the stage they're in, to meet them where they are, not where they were 3 years ago. The kitten is begging for a calm presence. The young adult is begging for conversation. The mature adult is begging for early attention to changes you can't yet see. The senior is begging for a gentler world. And the geriatric cat is begging most simply for you to stay close. The stare is not one message. It's a message that evolves quietly across the arc of a whole life. And the greatest kindness you can offer your cat, starting today, whatever age they are, is to learn to hear the version of the message they're sending you right now. If you've stayed with me all the way through this, thank you, genuinely. Cat owners who make it to the end of a 25-minute video about their cat's inner life are, in my experience, the owners whose cats live the longest and best lives. That's not a coincidence. You're the reason this channel exists, and you're the reason I keep making these roadmaps. If it would help you, go ahead and subscribe so I can guide you through every stage that's coming. I've got roadmaps in the works for the specific medical windows within each of these stages, and I don't want you to miss them. A gentle tap on the like button helps other cat owners find this one too, especially the ones who are staring back at their cat right now and wondering what it means. And if there's someone in your life who has a cat in the mature or senior years, please pass this along to them. That 7 to 10 window is the most important one to catch early, and the more owners who know about it, the more good years we add to feline lives everywhere. The best day to start any of this was the day you brought your cat home. The second best day is today. Whatever age your cat is sitting at right now, whatever stage they're standing at the edge of, the stare they gave you this morning was an invitation. Accept it. Sit with them for a minute longer than you meant to. Slow your blink. Let them see you seeing them. That's the whole roadmap. And that's what your cat has been begging for all along. I'm Dr. Andrew Collins. Take good care of your little one. I'll see you in the next video.